After resigning from the medical pathology department, I went to work at a detective agency doing testing. I was specifically responsible for finding tadpoles on women's underwear to provide evidence for the big shots catching their cheating partners. This job paid well, had little work, and I could enjoy the gossip to my heart's content. Until one day, a regular client sent a fresh sample. A pair of peach-colored lace panties, with the initials embroidered in the lower right corner. Why? It was identical to the one I sent to my fiancée yesterday. Ding! Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. When I saw the color of the sample, I was a bit surprised. It was quite close to my aesthetic. But when I saw the letters embroidered on the lace, my head buzzed, my blood froze, and I broke out in a cold sweat. Why, the initials of Yvette Morris, a custom-made pair. The probability of running into the same underwear is smaller than being struck by lightning twice in a day. This morning, my fiancée wore it and playfully scolded me. So flirtatious, sending me underwear. I hugged her from behind and whispered in her ear. It's just for fun, my wife. Do you like it? How will you reward me? She laughed and pushed me away, slipping on a dress and running off to the side. Underwear? No one else can see it, as long as you like it. Then she shyly said in a small voice, I'll reward you tonight. I was originally filled with anticipation for a big dinner later and was happily working. I never expected that someone had already taken it off and delivered it into my hands. I stood there dumbfounded, my mind blank. My buddy Frank Bailey urged me from the side. What are you dazed for? The client is waiting. I snapped back to reality, holding onto a glimmer of hope. What are we checking for? What else? See if there are any tadpoles. And check if there are any spermicide, lubricant, hyaluronic acid, silicone, or other ingredients. What if they were using a condom? I suppressed my erratic heartbeat and mechanically placed the sample under the pathological microscope. I fought against the impulse to rush out and beat up the cheating husband and casually asked, which unlucky guy is getting cheated on by his wife? Not him. This time it's someone else's wife. He chuckled a bit lewdly. Landon loves messing with married women and even requires them not to sleep with their husbands. What a pervert. Just because he's rich, he seeks out this kind of thrill. Now there's a new target. Let's check if the other party is clean and obedient. What if she's not obedient? If she's not obedient, just send her away. If she is, then play with her for a while. Does the woman have a problem? What does she see in him? Frank Bailey laughed mischievously. Money, my silly brother. Under the pathological microscope, apart from basic female secretions, it was completely clean. No tadpoles and no condom ingredients. I felt a lump in my chest that was hard to swallow, nearly suffocating me. Not finding anything didn't make me feel relieved. I thought about how recently I had been seeking intimacy, and Yvette had been refusing me for various reasons. I kept reflecting on whether I was too conservative, too dull, not understanding romance. That's why I thought of customizing a pair of panties for her, but I never expected she was saving herself for someone else. And I was just a part of their play. I handed the testing report to Frank Bailey, my hand shaking as I held the microscope. He glanced at the report and smirked. Great. Another cuckold is born. My already chaotic mind was hit hard again. My fiancée is cheating. I'm the cuckold. I rubbed my face vigorously, my remaining rationality quickly processing. I can't act impulsively. Even if I beat up that guy, it wouldn't help. Yvette hasn't had any real relationship with him yet. Who knows how it really is? This matter requires careful planning. After figuring it out, I went to the door of the adjacent meeting room, peeking through the crack to see the client's appearance. Over 40, dressed like a successful person, but his face was hard to look at, especially his hair, which was sparser than my armpit hair. How could Yvette be interested in him? I felt a bit puzzled. Upon seeing the report, the man nodded in satisfaction, while Frank Bailey eagerly handed him a cigarette. Landon, this is good. The man across squinted and took a puff of his cigarette. Yeah, quite obedient. Not married yet. Fresh meat. Frank Bailey eagerly brought the ashtray to the man. With Landon's good conditions, you can pick any young lady. The man shot Frank Bailey a mysterious glance. You don't understand. Sleeping with a girl is risky. After a few dates, she wants you to divorce and marry her. It's better to give some benefits to those with stable relationships. The economy is tough, gotta save costs. After saying that, the two laughed heartily at each other. So disgusting. I suddenly lost the urge to rush forward and beat him up. Hitting him would only dirty my hands. When he left, I made sure to remember his license plate number, 678TP. After work that evening, Yvette was already back. As soon as I walked in, she came over eagerly to take my bag. Was the hospital busy today? I nodded, tiredly collapsing onto the sofa. In the past, I always pretended to be tired, but today I was genuinely exhausted. I watched Yvette busying herself between the kitchen and dining table, suddenly feeling very out of place. Is this my future wife? She cheated? No way. We've been in a relationship for 7 years, and our feelings have always been great. We're about to get married. She goes to work and comes home on time every day, with no suspicious behavior at all. She is gentle and virtuous. Everyone praises me for finding a good woman, so where did it all go wrong? While thinking about this, I walked closer and hugged her from behind, my hand slipping into her loungewear. She jumped up as if pricked by a needle, looking at me with a face full of vigilance. My heart sank. I crossed my arms and leaned against the dining table, straightforwardly bringing it up. Weren't you wearing the underwear I gave you this morning? Why did you change? A flash of panic and confusion crossed her eyes, clearly thinking of an excuse. I saw it when you bent over just now. You changed into white ones. She awkwardly brushed her hair back. Oh, I spilled coffee on my skirt during the day, so I got it dirty. I followed her lead and played along. Oh, can it be washed out? It won't come clean. I threw it away. Landon, you won't blame me, right? I didn't mean to. I smiled and shook my head. How could I? It's just a pair of underwear. Before going to bed that night, she had washed up nicely and leaned over. Honey, your reward is here. I simply closed my eyes and pretended to sleep. She stubbornly reached out to touch me, and I shifted away, trying to suppress my disgust, mumbling, I'm tired, let's sleep quickly. I pretended very well, not even fluttering my eyelashes, but inside I was a storm of emotions, hard to calm. After Yvette fell asleep, I took her phone. I checked social media and found no traces whatsoever. Having been in a consulting company for a long time, this was within my expectations. Women cheat just as much as men, but because they are meticulous, they hide it well. Plus, with their high acting skills, it's usually when a woman wants a divorce that she intentionally exposes information for the other party to notice. At work, I often saw poor men left dazed by the detection reports. I looked at them with either sympathy or mockery, not expecting that today, as a bystander, I would face retribution. Deleting chat records was no challenge for me. I directly logged into her WeChat on my computer and backed up all her chat records and billing details to my computer under migration and backup. At the same time, I logged her WeChat onto my iPad. Then I pulled up the shortcuts on her phone. I tagged a certain message, chose to get the current location, and sent it to my own phone via SMS. I also disabled the pre-run prompt. This way, as long as she opened WeChat, I would receive her real-time location. After doing all this, I collapsed onto the swivel chair in the study, exhausted. I spent the whole night staring at Yvette Morris's chat records without sleep. These two had been flirting for quite some time. At first, they exchanged flirty messages back and forth. Then it turned into brother-sister ambiguity. Comparing the transfer records during this time, the affair partner had sent Yvette a total of $78,000 in various red envelopes. I could only imagine the gifts would be even more. I suddenly thought about how recently Yvette had been changing her clothes and bags frequently. I had even asked her about it. She had looked displeased. Can't I buy clothes with my own money? I quickly searched for the standard answers in a survival instinct test. Buy. I'm not saying you buy too much. I'm worried you don't buy enough. If there's anything you need, honey will pay." Laughing and joking, this matter passed. I had never considered her infidelity. Clearly, financial capacity had its effect. Their relationship had advanced rapidly. Just earlier, while Yvette was showering, she even sent him a half-naked photo, accompanied by flirty words. "Darling, did I pass the test? I listened to you and didn't get close to my husband, just waiting for my brother to love me." The reply came, "I won't let you wait in vain, baby. I'll have you tomorrow." Not only that, but I also discovered that Yvette Morris was not cheating for the first time. In her chat records with her younger brother, he asked her for money, and she replied, "Not yet. Just wait a bit longer." "Sis, are you okay? It's all your fault for insisting on dating that Stanley Smith. How much can a dead-end job earn? Just dump him and find someone else. It's a waste of your beauty. You don't understand anything. A doctor's job is stable, and their social status is high. The older they get, the more desirable they become. Your sister has had enough of being a third wheel. Can't you put in some effort to help your sister live a better life? Does sister still lack a good life? She can't even spend all the money she earned before. Just let your brother have a little relief. Watch your mouth. Don't let Stanley Smith hear you. Don't worry, he's too clueless to notice." I slammed the notebook shut, feeling sick and unable to continue. This was simply a far cry from the Yvette Morris I knew. I suddenly realized that I had never truly understood this woman. I met Yvette Morris in college. Our student romance was pure, without considering any real issues, only thinking about how to happily grow old together. During my second year of graduate school, I was pretty sure I would stay in the pathology department of the affiliated hospital. Unexpectedly, Yvette's family had an accident. Her father fell from a scaffold at a construction site, breaking his spine. Despite all efforts to save him, he became paralyzed from the waist down and could no longer stand. It was then that I learned about Yvette's family situation. Her mother was a full-time housewife. Her father worked odd jobs, and she had a younger brother who was a good-for-nothing. No wonder she had always been so secretive about family matters. At the age when girls love beauty, she was very simple, as all the money she earned went to support her family. Now, the main breadwinner at home was bedridden, and Yvette cried as she broke up with me. "I love you so much, but I can't drag you down." At that moment, I felt particularly heartbroken for her. I knew that most people would weigh the pros and cons and cut their losses in a situation like this. But as a medical student, I had seen many sudden illnesses and fragile emotions. I deeply understood that life is unpredictable and fortune can change in an instant. Who can guarantee that life will always be smooth sailing? Maybe one day I would face misfortune too. In that case, I would hope that the person I love would stay with me and cherish me forever. So after graduation, I gave up the opportunity to pursue a doctorate and joined Frank's older brother's consulting company. This consulting company was a designated contractor for a top detective agency, specializing in biological assessments for cheating women. In other words, they were looking for tadpoles. In fact, testing for tadpoles can be done with test strips, or a nurse who knows how to operate a microscope could handle it too. But since I was professionally trained and loved to research, I could perform detailed cytological analyses on tadpoles. This allowed me to accurately calculate when the tadpoles were produced, with an error of no more than 2 hours. That was impressive. As long as the client provided a sample within 72 hours, even a cotton swab with a sample on it, I could tell them exactly when their wife had cheated. This provided crucial evidence for the big shots to catch their cheating spouses. With this technology, Frank's brother's company gained significant fame in the industry and led in business volume. Of course, I also received generous compensation. In 3 years, I had saved enough for a down payment on a house. However, this job contradicted my original intention of studying medicine. I kept thinking about earning a bit more to give Yvette a better life, and then I would just quit. Naturally, I didn't tell Yvette about any of this. I was afraid she would feel guilty and burdened. Therefore, she always thought I was working at a private hospital. Looking back now, I was truly being foolish. My phone buzzed with a notification. The address was Yvette Morris's company. Suddenly, I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me, and my mind was racing with chaotic thoughts. There were dangerous thoughts. Go. Follow her and catch her in the act. Strangle that pair of cheating dogs. Find someone to beat them up so badly they couldn't take care of themselves. Expose their scandal online and let them die socially. Let everyone who sees them call them shameless. Then there were rational thoughts. Don't act impulsively. Hitting people and exposing private photos are illegal. Getting into trouble because of such a woman isn't worth it. Just break up and stay away from a bad woman. That's the best redemption for myself. Who is she anyway? We have parents who care about us. Don't act impulsively. And if you want to vent, make sure it's within legal limits. I was distracted all morning. A battle was raging between my darker self and my lighter self. Approaching noon, my heart felt like it was about to burst. Because from the data I had gathered over the past 3 years, most cheating incidents occurred during lunchtime. Suddenly, my shoulder felt heavy. My heart skipped a beat. Frank's loud voice boomed. "What the hell are you doing, buddy? Sneaking around behind my back to watch a movie? Let's go eat." I was about to refuse when my phone pinged. The real-time location had been sent. I stared at the words, unable to snap out of it for a long time. Hilton Hotel. The other shoe had dropped after waiting all night. What excuse could there be now? I tightly closed my eyes, fingers running through my hair, taking a moment to breathe. 7 years of effort, 7 years of love, all came to this. Both my darker self and my lighter self were exhausted. I had to let out this pent-up frustration. I turned to Frank. "Buddy, I have something to do right now. Will you help me?" I briefly explained to Frank. It was really hard to say. I stammered, but he still understood. He took a deep drag on his cigarette and said with loyalty, "Damn, going to dig up dirt on my brother? Don't you know what I do?" With Frank's help, I smoothly obtained Landon's information. Landon Jenkins, 41 years old, married, runs a property management business. His wife is an only child, 3 years older than him, and holds all the financial power. Landon had always been unfaithful but quite cautious, presenting himself as a devoted husband and father, with a good reputation, especially afraid of his wife. Knowing the name of the cheating partner, I drove to the Hilton Hotel. In the underground parking lot, I found Landon's car, 678 TP. It seemed Yvette was indeed on a date with Landon. I rushed to the front desk and reported Landon Jenkins's name, claiming to be his assistant wanting to extend his stay. The front desk verified the room number, 1230. They also mentioned that Mr. Jenkins had booked the room for a month and wanted to continue. I scoffed. Having a fixed room number saved me a lot of trouble. Then I sat in the hotel lobby using WeChat voice to call Yvette. She had never rejected my calls before, but this time, for the first time, she didn't answer. She must be busy now. I quickly sent her a shared real-time location. When we were dating, we often shared our real-time locations with each other. If she accepted, she would find out I was right downstairs at the hotel. I really wanted to see her expression. Of course, she missed the last chance I gave her. When I got home that night, Yvette was already back. She just looked a bit pale, which was inevitable. In addition to my interruption, I had also set 3 alarms on her phone. They went off every 10 minutes, and even on silent, they would still ring. It must be frustrating to be interrupted when you're on the verge of taking action. She lay back on the sofa, irritated. "Why did you want to see me at noon?" I was in a meeting and couldn't answer the phone. She hurriedly blurted that out. I sat opposite her, staring directly at her. "Oh, I happened to be at your company's building for a consultation and wanted to surprise you. Hey, isn't your office 428? She visibly panicked. "You went to my office?" "Yeah, but I didn't see you. Where were you working overtime, my wife?" I suddenly realized that women are born actresses. When they want to deceive you, their lies are seamless. She talked about how she was working overtime at a client's company, how she was feeling down due to being mistreated, and how she regretted missing my surprise. Next time, she said she'd let me know in advance so we could have a romantic date. I quietly listened, then threw out a line as planned. How many times did your phone alarm go off? It might be broken. Tomorrow, I'll get you a new one. Okay? She leaned in and kissed me on the cheek. You're so sweet, husband. She turned to take a shower, not noticing that I was scrubbing my face with an alcohol wipe until my skin nearly broke. I couldn't help it. I have a cleanliness obsession and hate dirt. She left her clothes outside the shower while she bathed. I took a sterile cotton swab and collected a sample from her underwear. I told her there was something at the hospital and turned back to the office. Yvette Morris had endometriosis and was using a Mirena, so I guess they probably weren't using any protection. Sure enough, the sample had tadpoles, most of which were already dead. I took the tadpole sample and froze it with liquid nitrogen. This stuff might come in handy. After leaving, I went to the mall and bought Yvette a new phone, setting it up the way Frank Bailey taught me. If necessary, I could remotely control her phone. I presented the new phone to Yvette, and her eyes widened in surprise. I've been reluctant to buy one. It's so expensive. I smiled. By the way, I won a little bear in a raffle at the mall. Isn't it cute? She dramatically covered her mouth. So cute. This color matches your bag well. Should I hang it there? Yes. Yes. She stopped smiling, her eyes becoming flirtatious. Husband, I'll reward you tonight. I thought to myself, oh no, is the craving that strong? Clearly, she didn't eat enough at noon. I quickly put on a regretful expression. But what about if I have to write my thesis? You can write it after the reward. After the reward, I just want to sleep. Be good. Don't tempt me. She pouted, looking dissatisfied, and angrily turned to go into the bedroom. The bear contained a camera, which was a professional hidden camera device provided by Frank. However, since Yvette hung it on her bag, the angles were always different. Sometimes it faced the bed, allowing for a complete view of an adult film. Other times, it faced the wall, capturing sound but no image. Once, it clearly recorded Landon turning his back and taking a blue pill. Frank didn't understand why I was doing this. Isn't it simpler to just catch them in the act in bed? I laughed at his simplistic and crude thinking. What's the point of catching them in bed? It would only lead to a dog-eat-dog scenario, and then they'd break up. But I wasted 7 years on a terrible woman. I wasn't willing to settle for that. I wanted more. Based on my observations, Yvette Morris and Landon Jenkins met at very fixed times. Every Tuesday and Thursday. It was always during the lunch break, and the location was consistently the Hilton not far from Yvette's company. They chose this time because Landon's wife, Adele Holland, would go back to her parents' house every Tuesday. On Thursdays, Adele would gather with a few close friends. A sister gathering was indeed a perfect opportunity for catching them in the act. I had recorded Landon's voice messages over the past few weeks where he commented on his wife in bed. For instance, I have no feelings for that old woman anymore. She's 3 years older than me, and even if she dresses up, she's still an old cucumber painted green. Baby, I really want to be with you every day. When I lie next to that old woman, I'm thinking about you. Coming home feels like punishment. My little brother is suffering so much. My dear, you need to take better care of me. She said she could retire at 50, and the company would take care of me. When that time comes, I'll kick her out. Oh, if I divorce her, how could I bear to divorce you? Don't glare at me like that. You'll take my soul away. So, on a sunny Thursday afternoon, I timed everything perfectly. I sent the hotel address and the edited voice messages to Landon Jenkins's wife. Any original wife would be furious listening to this, but please don't let me down. After sending it, I dragged Frank to a tea restaurant across from the Hilton and waited quietly. It would take about half an hour for Adele to get from her gathering to here. I called the hotel front desk to confirm that Landon had ordered 2 business lunches. I specifically emphasized that I wanted the orange juice in the meal to be replaced with freshly squeezed grapefruit juice. And no ice, please. The front desk agreed wholeheartedly. After doing all this, I calmly pulled Frank along, ready to watch the show. Frank didn't quite understand. What kind of trick are you playing? You'll find out soon. Right on time, Adele Holland burst in with 7 or 8 other women into the Hilton. I turned on the camera, the angle was good today, right facing the bed. I saw Landon just out of the shower, wrapped in a towel. Yvette was already ready, gazing at him with affectionate eyes. Oh no, it hasn't even started yet, and we're already running a bit late. Just then, there was a loud bang 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 at the door. Landon, clearly annoyed, shouted, "Damn it! Who is it?" As soon as the door opened, Adele kicked Landon in the stomach. Then, the 7 or 8 women rushed in, automatically splitting into 2 groups. The 4 led by Adele surrounded Landon. They swung their bags, hitting Landon one after another. "Damn you, Landon! How could you betray me with a mistress?" Landon was hit so hard he curled up defensively. "No, no, darling. I was just confused for a moment. Please don't hit me. I didn't do anything." "Didn't do anything? You just didn't have time to do it, right?" Adele shot a glance at Landon's lower body, instantly furious. "How shameless can you be, Landon Jenkins? Look at that thing of yours standing up. I'll make you regret being so shameless right here." Adele lifted her foot, wearing high heels, and kicked Landon in the groin with all her strength. Ouch! Frank Bailey and I instinctively squeezed our legs together. That was brutal. Frank didn't forget to gossip. "Hey, you have to admit, Landon is pretty impressive. Even in this situation, he still looks so spirited." I scoffed. "It's not him being impressive. It's the little blue pills mixed with grapefruit juice that did it." Grapefruit juice contains coumarin compounds that inhibit the activity of enzymes in the liver and intestines. This prevents the body from metabolizing the drug normally, leading to excessive concentration. In other words, this guy's dosage of little blue pills is doubled. With the added sexual stimulation, it makes him especially strong. Perfect for catching a cheating spouse in the act. After hearing this, Frank sincerely remarked, "You can't offend someone studying medicine." In the footage, Landon was in agony, clutching his legs, rolling on the floor, pale as a ghost. That last hit must have caused at least a rupture or worse, turned him into a lifelong eunuch. He kept pleading, "Darling, call 120. I'm hurt badly. It hurts too much. My manhood." Adele completely ignored him, having vented her anger on Landon, and turned her attention to Yvette. Several women had already grabbed Yvette by her hair and dragged her to the ground. Slaps rang out loudly. "You shameless slut. Seducing men, you little mistress." I thought it was about time, so I pulled Frank along. "Let's go, we should join in." Frank was quite excited. "This is my first time experiencing such a big scene." I warned him, "When we go in, I'll do the talking. You just record at the door, and don't be shocked by what I say." Frank and I rushed in. The doorway was already crowded with onlookers. With such a scene, everyone on the upper and lower floors came out to see what was happening. Sure enough, there were quite a few filming little videos. I didn't know if there was a live stream going on. I quickly pushed through the crowd and rushed inside. Yvette was disheveled, with bruises and scratches all over her face. When she saw me, she looked as terrified as a mouse seeing a cat. "Honey!" I rushed over to her, pushing aside the 2 women holding her hair, and took off my suit jacket to wrap her up. "What's going on, darling? Someone messaged me saying you were here selling your body." Yvette's eyes widened, tears streaming down her face. "Honey, it's not what you think. I didn't do anything. You have to believe me." I scoffed. She was still trying to play innocent at a time like this. The older woman next to me looked at me, incredulous. "You're her husband? This slut is cheating on you." I slapped her back. "Cheating? Do you have proof?" "I know my wife best. She wouldn't do something like this. Someone must have forced her. Where's that dog of a man? Get him out here. I'll chop him up." Landon, who had just regained some strength, shrank back at my murderous aura, not saying a word. But his wife was furious. "When I came in, those 2 shameless ones were both naked. If that's not cheating, then what is? Are you blind?" I glanced at Landon. This loser is bullying my wife? I grabbed the ashtray from the bedside, ready to fight, and charged at Landon. Just then, the crowd parted automatically, and several plainclothes men rushed in. Everyone stay still. Police. I had called the police and they arrived quite promptly. Taking advantage of the moment, I dropped the ashtray. I turned and hugged Yvette tightly, whispering in her ear, "Don't be afraid, darling. The police are here. You didn't cheat, you were forced and bullied. We should use the law to protect you. I support you." Yvette stammered, trembling and unable to speak. With her bloodied face, she really looked like a victim of abuse. The police questioned, and Landon, in front of his wife, insisted he had never seen her before, claiming Yvette had seduced him. Yvette's face twisted with rage as she jumped up and shouted, "You're talking nonsense, it was him. He tried to rape me." The officer frowned. "Is rape a criminal case? Are you sure?" Yvette was curled up in my arms, incredibly resolute. "Yes, he forced me. Arrest him and put him in jail." Landon was anxious. "I didn't even touch you. A test will prove it. Stop slandering me." Whether I touched her today was irrelevant, because this morning, I had already placed the tadpoles I collected over the past few days back into the underwear Yvette was wearing today. Once tested, it would be conclusive. What started as an extramarital affair dispute had escalated into a criminal case, and the situation became serious. Landon was sent to the hospital due to severe injuries. Yvette was taken back to the police station. Before getting into the car, she tearfully assured me, "Honey, believe me, I was really forced. You won't abandon me, will you?" "Of course not, my dear. I feel so sorry for you. We will make that jerk pay." Yvette's eyes flickered, caught in a dilemma. I was a bit worried she might turn against me halfway. "Honey, you're not really cheating on me, are you?" She immediately became firm. "No, I swear." Determining rape is a complex process. Although the police retrieved surveillance footage and the transaction records between the two, which proved they knew each other and had a financial relationship, it still couldn't prove Landon was innocent. Even during a marriage, if relations occur against the woman's will, it can be classified as rape. Yvette insisted she was forced, and given her injuries, it was hard to determine if she was beaten by Adele's good friends during the act of catching them or if Landon had forced her. Moreover, tadpoles belonging to Landon were found on Yvette's clothing. So, even if Landon was pulling his hair out in frustration, it was difficult to turn the situation around. I took the opportunity to sue all of Adele's friends for intentional injury. The goal was to make them overwhelmed. Sure enough, after a few days of deadlock, Adele came to my door. We agreed to meet at a cafe. Both of us were smart, so we got straight to the point. "What do you want?" I pulled out my laptop and showed her a short video. Her eyes widened. "What do you mean?" I closed the laptop. "Ms. Holland, my consulting firm specializes in helping clients investigate difficult issues and handle various troubles. If you hire me to assist in the investigation, I'm confident I can help your husband clear his name." She quickly realized what I wanted and switched to a more businesslike tone. "Is your company expensive?" "It's quite pricey. For a case like your husband's, the investigation fee is $5 million. Her eyes lit up. "Why don't you go rob a bank? He's not worth that much. If the case stands, I can just divorce him." I smiled. A scumbag wasn't worth that much, but a child's father was different. "You can definitely divorce Landon for cheating, but your son is about to take his high school entrance exam. Aren't you worried about how this will affect his physical and mental state?" Adele was stunned. "You even investigated my family?" Of course, I wouldn't go into a battle unprepared. "Landon was severely injured by your kick. Keeping him around is pointless, but he is still the father of your child. If he is convicted of rape, he could face 3 to 10 years in prison, and your child would have a father with a criminal record. In the future, he would be barred from any job requiring a background check. You may hate Landon deeply, but I don't think you would joke about your child's future." I could tell I had hit a nerve. She gritted her teeth and said, "You're extorting me." Oh, definitely not. I'm discussing business with you. You hire us to help you, and the money goes to the company account. It has nothing to do with me personally. I need to think about it. Take your time, but you don't have much left. That day, the commotion at the Hilton had already gone viral online. It greatly affected the reputation of Adele's company. They were bidding for a property at a certain university and had already been disqualified due to their poor company image. If Landon were convicted, it would be particularly detrimental to both family and career, so she had to swallow this bitter pill. As for how she would settle the score with Landon later, that was something to look forward to. That night, Frank called, saying Adele had signed a contract with the company. "Man, you're amazing. A big deal right off the bat. I'll refund you this money as a bonus later." Once the money arrived, I sent the video from the day of the catch to Adele. The video was enough to prove that Yvette was completely willing and that the two of them hadn't had relations. The prosecution dropped the case due to the change in evidence and the failure to meet the conditions for prosecution. Instead, Yvette was charged with false accusation and entrapment, with solid evidence against her. She was sentenced to 14 months in prison. The last time I went to see Yvette, my former brother-in-law blocked me at the door and immediately tried to fight me. "Damn, my sister really misjudged you. She's in trouble. And you not only didn't help her, but also set her up. You deliberately implied that if she was forced, you would forgive her, encouraging her to accuse Landon, and then you turned your back on her. You're despicable." I pointed to the camera on the wall and reminded him, "Use your brain. If you dare to throw a punch at me, I'll send you in to keep your sister company." My former brother-in-law indeed backed down. When I saw Yvette again, she was completely different from before. Her long hair was cut short, her eyes were sunken, and she was so thin she looked unrecognizable. Upon seeing me, she was visibly agitated. "Honey, I'm so sorry, truly sorry. Can you forgive me? It's been over a year, and I will be out soon. Can we start over, please?" I really admire her. Even at this point, she still wants to hold on to me. I remained calm and composed. "I came to tell you that I've already cleaned out your things and sent them back to your parents' house. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. Let's never meet again." She stared at me in shock, tears streaming down her face as she gripped the railing tightly. "Honey, please forgive me. I promise I won't dare again." I shook my head. I don't have the bad habit of going back on my words. After seeing Yvette Morris, I went back to the company to pack my things. Frank Bailey strolled over to gossip with me. "Buddy, I heard that if Landon gets surgery on that crucial part of him in time, it can be saved. But guess what? His wife didn't sign the consent form, saying she was afraid of the risks. They kept observing, and now it's completely ruined. He's a eunuch now. His wife immediately divorced him, leaving him with nothing, not even an extra pair of underwear. Now he's standing at the entrance of a theater on Theater Road, and that Adele has sued Yvette, claiming that the money Landon gave her is marital property and must be returned. It was expected, but I didn't feel particularly happy about it. After all this, I felt exhausted deep down. It was just so meaningless. I pulled out the resignation letter I had prepared long ago from my pocket and handed it to Frank. I had wanted to do this for a while. He was about to say something when I quickly cut him off. "Buddy, I appreciate your help, but you know this isn't what I want to do. I've just hired a new graduate from medical school. I will train him personally, and it absolutely won't affect the company's business." Frank thought for a moment and nodded. "All right, I knew I couldn't keep you for long. Go ahead and pursue your PhD. You'll make a great doctor. Good luck." I voluntarily left $1 million from the $5 million consultation fee that Adele gave me for the company. With the remaining $4 million, I left the place where I had worked for 3 years. At home, I couldn't stay idle with my professional background. Using the first-hand data I obtained at the consulting company as evidence, I published 2 papers. Analysis of sperm morphology influencing factors excluding time conditions, and investigation of extramarital sexual behavior and condom usage in the past 3 years. These 2 articles had large sample sizes and solid data, creating a small wave in the academic world. I took this opportunity to apply to my graduate advisor for a PhD program. The old gentleman was nearly 70 but still full of life. When he saw me, he rolled his eyes to the ceiling. "Weren't you going to stop being a doctor? Why are you writing papers again?" I lowered my head, not daring to speak. Back then, for Yvette, I chose a more lucrative profession, which not only hurt my teacher's feelings but also drained my enthusiasm. But after 3 wasted years, I was now clearer about what I wanted. Gathering my courage, I assured my teacher, "Teacher, I want to continue my PhD and become a pathologist. I will dedicate my life to the field of pathological diagnosis." Returning to the campus I had left 3 years ago, I felt rejuvenated. This was the career I loved. This would be my stage to shine in the future. I was grateful for the 3 lost years. I had finally found myself again.